He uses sequeler to manipulate information, and 9 dogs trained in secret to enforce his wills. Eventually, he drives Snowball into exile and claims sole authority. Napoleon represents the corrupt leader, the kind who uses the language of liberation to justify personal domination. His famous declaration, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, is perhaps one of the most haunting lines in all of literature. If Napoleon is the face of corruption, then Boxer, the hard-working cut horse, is the face of tragedy. Boxer is devoted, strong, and selfless. His two personal mottos, I will work harder and Napoleon is always right, reflect the blind loyalty of the working class. He gives everything to the farm, and what does he receive in return? When his body finally gives out, Napoleon sells him to slaughterhouse. Boxer's fate is Orwell's most heartbreaking statement that system of operation often consume the people who sustain them. We cannot speak of characters without addressing the sequeler, Napoleon's silver-tongued spokesman. Sequeler is perhaps the most dangerous character on the farm, not because of his physical force, but because of his mastery of language. He rewrites history, twists facts, and convinces the animals to doubt their own memories. In today's world, we might call him a propagandist, a purveyor of misinformation. Orwell understood that power is not only held by those with weapons, it's held by those who control the narrative. Every character in the animal farm serves a purpose beyond the page. They are mirrors reflecting the leaders, followers, and the manipulator, and the silence that exists in every society. Orwell's genius lies making us care about a horse, a pig, and a donkey. Through them, making us confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the system we live within us. As we move through today's forum, I invite you to keep these characters in mind, not as fictional animals, but as the archetypes that walk among us still. And that's all from me. I pass to the second speaker.
Thank you, Bedah. Now, moving on to the next second speaker, Azizul. You may begin the session now.
Hello. Once again, good morning to all of the panels and to the moderator that are respected, and to our program advisor, Professor Dr. Nelson Ilan Prasad. As of today, we will talk about George Orwell's political style and Animal Farm, where this book mirrored the political world, politicians' behavior, and the real world event that was referenced in the book. Let's see how to. The first. On the novels in chapter 1 and 2, the animals here are described as the people that are trying to overthrow the government, where the old major, which is a very old pig, lead out the other animals to cast out the human farmer, which is Mr. Jones. This is hardly recognized as how the Russian Revolution started in 1917, where one of the most famous social science philosophers, Karl Marx, that created the Marxism theory, and Vladimir Lenin, inspired the Russians to overthrow Tsar Nicholas II rule in 1917. From the impact of this revolution, that it has ended the monarchy system of Russia and hence creating the communist system and the communist country that we know today as USSR or the Soviet Union. Moving on to chapter 6, moving on to chapter 3 and chapter 5, two pigs are now in charge of the farm, which is Snowball and Napoleon. But the two of them are having a very separate ideologies. Where Snowball is a visionary leader, where he wants to build a windmill to modernize the farm, while Napoleon wants absolute control to the farm and want to be a dictator to the farm. Because of that, the two of them are fighting constantly, and as a result, Napoleon uses secret dogs to chase Snowball out of the farm. This reflects how two of the Soviet leaders, Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin, in 1917. After the passing of Vladimir Lenin, two of them are fighting for control, where Leon Trotsky want to modernize the Soviet and Joseph Stalin want the absolute power to Soviet Union. This results that Stalin used his secret police to exile Trotsky and eventually led up to his assassination. Thirdly, from what we see in chapter 6 until chapter 8, after the exile of Snowball, Napoleon took Snowball windmill idea as his own. When things go south or things go down, he started blaming Snowball and started using forced labor on the animals, while the pigs live in the farmhouse just like the humans. This reflects as how the elite were living luxuriously while the commoners lived poorly. In the Soviet, Stalin started initiating the 5 years plan, or we know as Soviet industrialization. And when things go south in this plan, Stalin started blaming spies and traitors to distract the public from his mistake. This showed that the propaganda used by Stalin was just to cover up for his mistake that ended up to the country. On the fourth one, as we read in chapter 9, Napoleon started holding trials to the animals for the crime that they did commit. And after they confessed, his secret dogs killed the animals on the spot. Even his most loyal horse, Boxer, is sold to a glue factory when his body became too weak for work. This reflects of how the Great Purge in 1936 until 1938, where Stalin arrested and executed millions of his citizen, loyal party members, and his allies just to maintain his dictatorship and make sure no one will ever challenge him. This resulted in millions of casualties, and it truly solidified his status as the Soviet dictator until today. Last but not least, as we see in chapter 10, the farm start going back to the usual state. With now the pigs are now living in the farmhouse and behaving just like humans, where they are standing on 2 feet, drinking, eating, and even start wearing clothes like animals, clothes like human, while the other animals suffer and start dying. This reflects that even though the revolution started, it ended up to how things back then that shows that the elite still stays on top while the commoners still suffering. I hope that all of my sharings today will benefit all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Azizo, for the informative sharing just now. Next, let's have Fazal to share his thoughts. The floor is yours.
Good morning to all Bedah, moderator, audience, and the one I respect. Is our program advisor, Profesor Dr. Desmond Anak Rosal. So, moderator, jika kita meneliti bab 5 dalam novel Animal Farm ini, bab ini menandakan perubahan besar dalam struktur kepimpinan di novel Animal Farm. Pada awal bab, kita dapat melihat bahwa konflik antara dua kinsir, yaitu Snowball dan Napoleon, yang semakin ketara. Snowball memperkenalkan idea pembinaan kincir angin lengkap dengan pelan dan penerangan terperinci. Beliau menerangkan bagaimana kincir angin ini boleh menjadi elektrik, mengurangkan kerja fizikal hewan dan memberi kehidupan yang lebih selesa pada masa hadapan. Sebaliknya, Napoleon langsung tidak menunjukkan minat terhadap idea tersebut. Beliau tidak membentangkan pelan alternatif atau memberikan hujah yang buku, namun beliau secara senyap membina sokongan, terutama yang melalui pengaruh terhadap hewan lain seperti kambing yang sering mengganggu perbincangan. Kemuncak bab ini semasa mesyuarat apabila Snowball hampir memenangi sokongan majoriti haiwan terhadap projek kincir angin. Pada saat itu, Napoleon tiba-tiba memberi isyarat, lalu 9 ekor anjing yang telah dilatihnya menyerang Snowball. Snowball terpaksa melarikan diri untuk menyelamatkan diri dan tidak pernah kembali. Selepas kejadian itu, Napoleon mengambil alih kepimpinannya sepenuhnya. Beliau mengumumkan bahawa mesyuarat mingguan tidak lagi yang diperlukan dan semua keputusan akan dibuat oleh sekumpulan kecil kizil di bawah kawalannya. Ini menunjukkan perubahan daripada sistem yang memberi ruang kepada semua haiwan untuk bersuara kepada sistem yang berpusatkan kuasa. Selain itu, Squealer juga memainkan peranan penting dalam menyokong Napoleon. Beliau menggunakan kata-kata yang meyakinkan untuk menjelaskan bahawa tindakan Napoleon adalah untuk kebaikan semua. Walaupun hakikatnya kuasa adalah sedang dimonopoli. Ini menunjukkan bahawa kata-kata yang manis mampu mengawal seseorang. Masuk ke bab 7, kita dapat melihat akibat daripada perubahan ini dengan lebih jelas dan serius. Dalam bab ini, keadaan hidup haiwan menjadi semakin teruk. Musim sejuk yang keras menyebabkan bekalan makanan berkurangan dengan ketara. Haiwan kelaparan. Namun mereka masih dipaksa bekerja keras untuk menyiapkan pembinaan kincir angin. Bagi menutup keadaan sebenar, Napoleon mengarahkan agar maklumat yang sampai kepada manusia luar diputar balik bagi menimbulkan rasa ketidakcurigaan. Ini menunjukkan penggunaan propaganda untuk menjaga imej kepimpinannya. Selain itu, Napoleon juga mula menjadikan Snowball sebagai kambing hitam bagi semua masalah yang berlaku, termasuklah kemusnahan hasil dan kesulitan lain. Walaupun tiada bukti kukuh, haiwan-haiwan lain mula mempercayainya kerana pengaruh propaganda dan naratif yang berterusan. Peristiwa paling penting dalam bab 7 ini ialah pengakuan paksa dan hukuman mati. Beberapa haiwan termasuk kizil dan haiwan lain dipaksa mengaku kesalahan seperti bekerjasama dengan Snowball. Selepas pengakuan tersebut, mereka dihukum mati di hadapan haiwan lain. This reflect kuasa yang terletak pada orang yang mempunyai kuasa mutlak mampu menindas seseorang. Peristiwa ini menimbulkan suasana ketakutan yang mendalam. Haiwan-haiwan lain menjadi lebih patuh kerana bimbang akan menerima hak nasib yang sama. Ini menunjukkan bahawa pemerintahan Napoleon bukan sahaja berdasarkan kuasa, tetapi juga memberi ketakutan kepada haiwan lain. Seperti kita dapat lihat hari ini, jika kita bersuara terhadap satu isu, kita tidak akan dapat keadilan yang sepatutnya. Tambahan pula, peristiwa ini melanggar prinsip asal animal farm yang menekankan samarataan dan larangan membunuh sesama haiwan. Namun, perubahan ini diterima tanpa bantahan kerana haiwan tidak lagi berani bersuara. Kesimpulannya, bab 5 menunjukkan bagaimana kuasa mula diambil melalui kekerasan dan manipulasi. Manakala bab 7 menunjukkan bagaimana kuasa tersebut digunakan untuk mengawal, menindas dan mengekalkan kedudukan monarki melalui ketakutan dan propaganda. Terima kasih.
Thank you Fazrul for the sharing lesson. Last but not least, let's have Aaron as the last speaker of today's story. The floor is yours.
Selamat pagi dan selamat sejahtera. Yang saya hormati Profesor Dr. Nelson, Ilan Alam Mersat dan Sir Syazani dan rakan-rakan seperjuangan sekalian. Pada hari ini saya akan membentangkan tentang kepimpinan dua watak utama dalam novel Animal Farm karya George Orwell, iaitu Snowball dan Napoleon. Kedua-dua watak ini memainkan peranan penting selepas pemberontakan, namun mereka mempunyai gaya kepimpinan sangat berbeza yang akhirnya menentukan nasib ladang tersebut. Pertama sekali, Snowball boleh digambarkan sebagai seorang pemimpin yang bijak, berwawasan dan pandai berpidato. Dia benar-benar memikir terhadap prinsip animalism yang menekankan kesamarataan, keadilan dan kemajuan bersama. Snowball percaya bahawa pendidikan sangat penting untuk memajukan haiwan-haiwan lain. Sebagai contoh, dia menubuhkan pelbagai jawatan kuasa seperti jawatan kuasa pengeluaran telur dan berusaha mengajar haiwan membaca dan menulis. Ini menunjukkan bahawa Snowball menitik beratkan ilmu, pengetahuan dan pembangunan diri. Selain itu, Snowball juga seorang pemikir yang strategik. Kita dapat melihat hal ini semasa pertempuran kandang lembu, di mana dia mengkaji strategi peperangan Julius Caesar dan berjaya mempertahankan ladang. Ini membuktikan bahawa Snowball bukan sahaja bijak dari segi teori, tetapi juga cekap dalam situasi yang genting. Satu lagi aspek penting dalam kepimpinan Snowball adalah mencorak visi masa depan. Dia mencadangkan pembinaan kincir angin yang dipercayai dapat mengurangkan beban kerja dan meningkatkan kualiti hidup hewan. Idea ini melambangkan kemajuan, inovasi dan perancangan jangka panjang. Secara keseluruhannya, kepimpinan Snowball berasaskan idea penyertaan bersama dan kepentingan kolektif. Walau bagaimanapun, Snowball juga mempunyai kelemahan. Walaupun bijak, dia agak terlalu idealistik dan kurang mahir dalam permainan politik. Dia gagal mengesan ancaman daripada Napoleon dan tidak mempertahankan kedudukannya, yang akhirnya menyebabkan dia dihalau daripada ladang itu. Seterusnya, kita lihat pula Napoleon. Napoleon mewakili gaya kepimpinan sangat berbeza. Dia bersifat authoritarian, manipulatif dan mementingkan kuasa. Sejak awal lagi, Napoleon tidak begitu berminat dengan pendidikan atau perbincangan. Sebaliknya, dia lebih fokus untuk menguasai keadaan. Sebagai contoh, dia secara senyap melatih anak-anak anjing untuk dijadikan pengawal peribadi. Ini menunjukkan bahawa Napoleon lebih mengutamakan kekuatan dan kesetiaan berbanding ilmu dan kesamarataan. Kepimpinan Napoleon berasaskan ketakutan dan kawalan. Peristiwa penting berlaku apabila dia menggunakan anjing-anjing tersebut untuk menghalau Snowball keluar daripada ladang tersebut. Tindakan ini menghapuskan segala tentangan dan menjadikan Napoleon sebagai pemimpin yang tunggal. Selepas itu, tiada lagi perbincangan secara demokratik. Semua keputusan dibuat oleh Napoleon sendiri. Selain itu, Napoleon juga menggunakan propaganda untuk mengekalkan kuasanya. Dia bergantung kepada spoiler untuk memutarbelitkan fakta dan meyakinkan haiwan bahawa setiap tindakannya adalah betul. Contohnya, walaupun pada awalnya dia menentang pembinaan kincir angin, dia kemudian mengaku idea itu sebagai miliknya. Ini menunjukkan bagaimana Napoleon memanipulasi kebenaran demi kepentingan sendiri. Lebih memurukkan keadaan, Napoleon menjadikan semakin korup dan hipokrit. Dia mula mengamalkan gaya hidup manusia seperti tidur di atas katil, berdagang dengan manusia dan akhirnya berjalan dengan dua kaki. Semua ini jelas bertentangan dengan prinsip asal animalisme. Kepimpinannya menyebabkan penindasan dan penderitaan, terutamanya kepada haiwan yang bekerja keras seperti bangsa. Jika kita bandingkan kedua-dua pemimpin ini, perbezaannya sangat ketat. Snowball melambangkan kepimpinan demokratik. Ia menggalakkan penyertaan, mementingkan pendidikan dan berusaha untuk kebaikan bersama. Kepimpinannya bersifat terbuka dan berorientasikan masa depan. Namun, kelemahannya ialah kurang kebolehan mempertahankan kuasa. Sebaliknya, Napoleon melambangkan pemerintahan diktator. Dia memerintah melalui ketakutan, manipulasi dan kekerasan. Walaupun dia berjaya mendapatkan dan mengekalkan kuasa, kepimpinannya bersifat mementingkan diri dan merosakkan. Dia tidak peduli tentang kesamarataan atau kebajikan haiwan lain. Kesimpulannya, Snowball dan Napoleon menunjukkan dua jenis kepimpinan yang sangat berbeza. Snowball mengajar kita tentang kepentingan visi, ilmu dan keadilan, manakala Napoleon memberi peringatan tentang bahaya kuasa mutlak dan penyalahgunaan kuasa. Melalui kedua-dua watak ini, George Orwell menunjukkan bahawa kepimpinan yang baik boleh membangunkan masyarakat, tetapi kepimpinan yang salah boleh menghancurkannya. Sekian, terima kasih.
Thank you, Aaron, and all speakers for your sharing on the novel just now. From the novel earlier, we can conclude that it gives us the analogy on how the political world looks like. As mentioned by speakers earlier, in this novel, it highlighted the Napoleon and noble leadership, where Napoleon was portrayed as the authoritarian leadership, while Noble has democratic leadership. Of course, in real life, we would prefer having a democratic leader rather than authoritarian leader, because a good leader will always encourage participation from the members so that the members can voice out their opinions. Now that we have come to the Q&A session, if you have any questions to ask, please do not hesitate to ask.
Okey, soalan. Saya dah suruh standby satu kumpulan satu soalan. So, siapa nak start dulu? Ada soalan ke? Okey, itu lagi. Bagi komen soalan. Ada persilakan Tuan Haji Sazani untuk bagi komen.
Kalau saya minta
Di mic.
Okay. Political theory, political philosophy. Orwell is a very important text. So, for the longest time, we use text. This as a main text for modern political thought. And have any of you read from the book from the depan ke habis? All of you, right? Okay, good. The idea is for you to look at satu from the narrative point of view. Okay, because politik ni silat yang macam itu. See, dia ada silat yang some in political science we call the problem in terms of statistics, all the empirical, but literature is very, very important. It has created revolutions throughout ages. So you can look also macam the older text, macam history of the Peloponnesian War and other things. Okay, now my question: how do you feel about? Imagine if you're one of the animals dalam the farm. How do you feel about which kind of leader satu should I be? Don't tell snowball, okay? So looking at the text, okay, and all the context too. Maybe tell first who you should be lah, who you are now lah. Maybe repeat ke apa kan? Use that metaphor, right? And then what kind of people should we be?
Thank you for the question, Sazani. So actually for me, I will choose maybe Rusa.
Dia.
So for me, there's someone that yang perlu like macam pemerintah. Is first dia mesti ada sikap yang adil terhadap contoh kepada masyarakat macam tu. Tapi adalah orang yang anggap mempunyai kuasa penuh terhadap satu pemerintahan. Contoh dapat kita lihat daripada novel ni lah macam tu. So next adalah seorang pemerintah yang adil, dia juga boleh menjadikan sebuah negara tu makmur juga. Dan orang bilang kestabilan negara juga akan macam terjaga dan tidak akan berlakunya konflik lah. Tapi dapat dilihat daripada buku Animal Farm ni, kenapa banyak konflik berlaku adalah bermula daripada pemerintah atau individu itu sendiri, iaitu Napoleon. So disebabkan oleh penyalahguna kekuasaan, dia menindas dia punya hewan sendiri. So dapat dilihat bahawa itu adalah bukan cara yang bagus untuk pemerintah. Itu saya.
Thank you for the questions. Sorry. Kalau saya akan memilih untuk menjadi pemimpin yang berfikiran seperti Old Major. Sebab kalau kita baca buku tu, Old Major ni lah yang menginspirasikan orang, haiwan-haiwan di sana untuk bertindak, untuk menghalau pemilik ladang itu, Mr. Jones. So dalam konteks dunia sebenar, pemimpin seperti itulah yang diperlukan. Macam dia berani untuk bertindak, dia tak takut, dan pada masa yang sama dia seorang yang sangat bijak, especially ketika dia memperkenalkan prinsip animalism, di mana semua haiwan sama rata. Dan di situ juga kita akan dapat melihat equality, di mana itu dalam konteks sehingga ke hari ini itu adalah benda yang dituntut sehingga ke hari ini. Contohnya seperti gender equality, race equality, dan bahkan di dalam kasta pun masih dituntut sehingga ke hari ini. Dan selain itu, saya mungkin boleh memiliki watak seperti boxer, di mana boxer ni dia adalah seorang yang sangat bekerja keras dan setia kepada pemimpinnya, walaupun pemimpinnya Napoleon. Boxer ni sangat setia, dan bahkan sampai di akhir hayatnya pun boxer ni ada satu kata-kata yang selalu dia ucapkan, iaitu Napoleon is always right. Di mana selain daripada kita bijak, berwibawa, berkarisma, kita juga perlu setia kepada negara dan setia kepada pemimpin yang kita akan look up, ataupun kita yang akan menjadi orang yang di look up oleh orang ramai. Itu sajalah dari saya.
Thank you for the question, Syazani. So the pemimpin yang saya nak jadi as an inspiration from the Animal Farm, which is Old Major, same as Azizul, because Old Major is the one who invented the ideology of all animals are equal and also the animalism. So because of the Old Major, adakan satu ideology for the animals to follow, that humans are not their leaders and they are not supposed to follow the humans, and they have to have their own ideology, own working class, and own working class for them lah. And one animal that I don't want to be is the sheep, because the sheep always follows everything, blindly follows everything. If the leader is Napoleon say something, the sheep will follow the Napoleon. If the leader Snowball says something, the sheep will follow the Snowball. So the ideology which is followed by the sheep is blindly following everything, and the sheep is always repeating the phrase that 4 legs are good and 2 legs are bad, which were taught by the pemimpin before that lah. And later on, it changed into 4 legs good and 2 legs better. And even the sheep cannot catch up something when Snowball teach the animals lah. So the pemimpin that I don't want to be always is the sheep, and the pemimpin I want to be is the old major, to start something for the animals, not only the animals, to start something to people surrounding me. So that's all from me.
Kalau saya mungkin akan jadi boxer, kerana boxer berupa seorang yang setia terhadap orang lain. Lepas tu kalau pemimpin, kalau saya suka pemimpin yang bersifat terbuka, yang sering mendengar keluhan rakyat.
Are there any questions to ask?
Yes.
Apakah perbezaan gerak-gerak kepimpinan komite dan Napoleon dalam meneruskan ladang tersebut, dan mengapa pada akhirnya Napoleon yang berjaya menggunakan paksa dan berjaya memperjuangkan wartawan rakyat pasti mendapatkan kebajikan dari wanita?
Thank you for the question, Christine. Okay. Based on what you said, the two different patterns of leadership by Old Major and Napoleon. Okay, Old Major is a very wise leader. He's a visionary. He's a initiator, where he started the anti-animalism principle. But Napoleon, you must remember, Napoleon is the authoritarian, and at the same time, he always want dictatorship in his farm, where he holds the absolute control, the absolute power in the farm. For your second question, you said, how did Napoleon end up being in the control of everything despite having Snowball, despite having Old Major? It's because that Napoleon, despite he's the main antagonist of this book, he actually have a very sharp mind. Just like what he do during the meeting, where he used his secret police or his secret dogs to chase Snowball out. This shows that he thinks 10 steps ahead of his rival, of his enemies, his allies. And because of that, after the exile of Snowball, he immediately gained control to the farm. And from there, he started abusing his power to do everything to make sure he's in control. Such as that he steal the Snowball's idea of windmill and manipulate the other animals that think that the idea is his own. This is the role of his assistant, Squirrel, to use propaganda. Like in this world, like there's many things of propaganda. Even in besides that, we can see like the in Nazis propaganda, the Arya race supremacy, where the Jews need to be killed, and this and after. Am I answering your questions? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Okay, feel free to ask.
Alright.
Can you up your voice?
Good morning, everyone. Especially my questions here is for it's actually for Azizo, which is chapter 7, which is talk about the purges, the Stalin. So my question here was Napoleon in the chapter 7, he forces animals. He accused other animals that work with snowballs and to confess their sins and to confess their crimes, to be brought together. So, and then once they got caught and confessed their sins, even though they know that they're innocent, they got torn. So this actually happened in a real story, which is Stalin purges. So my question is personally for you is
Okay, thank you, Riker, for your questions. Very personal. Yeah. Okay, just like I said in chapter 7, Napoleon started using trials and accused the other enemies, the other animals. This reflects at how the Great Purge in 1936 and 1938 in the Soviet Union, where Joseph Stalin, he arrested and executed millions of his citizens just to maintain his dictatorship. So to answering Riker's question, for what he said, what will I do if I ever get caught in that act? But at the same time, I am innocent. I didn't do anything. I'm just a, what you say, kambing hitam, just for the propaganda. Okay. If we look at, let's just say, the scenario that Riker that proposed happened in today's world. I would say that even after I get caught, I would immediately be free. Why? Because if we look at the era 1936 and 1938, we didn't have any. They are absolutely terrified. The Soviet citizens are absolutely terrified. They are truly, what you say, they are praying for their life every day just for them to stay alive for the next day. For what I do, I would personally defy all the accusations, and I would personally go further. I will run away from my country. Or let's just say that happened in today's world, in the modern world. If the leadership still happen, okay, this is a scenario. Personally, we have social media everywhere. If any innocent people get caught, a storm of news will come, and there are many charity acts just to free me from the arrestment, and at the same time it will help ending the everything that happened. But the past is past. So what will I do is, if I ever get caught, I will personally defy all the accusations, even if I still ended up dead, or I could run away from my country. That's all from me. Am I answering your question?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Lagi soalan? Okay, last question.
Okay.
Okay, Mike boleh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Darwish, and I would like to ask regarding the representation of Napoleon as Joseph Stalin, right, for the revolution. It says in the book that they said that all animals are equal, and that they say that all those who walks on two legs are enemies, right? But over time, Napoleon become said enemy. They became the ultimate predator themselves, the human man. So my question is, what did Joseph Stalin do to become the enemy that he despises so much during the revolution for the Russian Soviet Union? And I would like to ask, what is the warning that George Orwell wanted to say after writing this book, after publishing this book? What is the warning of animal farm? That is my question.
Okay. Thank you, Lois. So you said that how the Napoleon represents Joseph Stalin, right? And you said you asked the message that George Orwell tried to send while he's writing this book.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Like if you guys study history in STPM, diploma, so on, Russian Revolution is considered as one of the most famous revolution that happened in real life, where the impact of this revolution, it ended the monarchy system in Russia, where we know as the last leader of Russia, or the last king of Russia, is Tsar Nicholas II. In 1917, after Vladimir Lenin and Karl Marx inspired the Russians to overthrow him. So before the revolution started, the people are living in hell, living suffering. The commoner are suffering, no food, not enough food, not enough water, not enough supply. While the elites, nobles, royal, they are living in luxury. So this has created many dissatisfaction to the people. And when the revolution started and when it ended, the two of them are fighting for control. And to answer your questions, okay, when Stalin became leader, things are going back to what used to be, where the Soviet elites, they are living in luxury again, and the people are living in the fear, in poor condition again. So, to answer your second questions, from what my opinion is, I think George Orwell's want to warn us, to warn every single person in this room, if we were given power, any power that we want to lead the country, how we will lead the country, how we will lead our people, how we start developing our country, how. And it wants to show that when humans were given power, their natural attitude start coming out. Am I answering questions?
Yes.
Ada lagi soalan? Ya.
Can you hear me? Is my
Okay,
voice
mic.
loud enough?
Do you want to use mic?
Ke depan lah.
Hi everyone. Hi to our lecturer, our speaker and my coursemate. I'm Irena from class 1, group 7. So as we know, animal farm, it portrays how the animal originally, as we can see, wanted to have a better world, and because of that they rebel to their owner, which is human being. But after that we can see the pigs, which is the leader, slowly became greedy and want to take all the powers. So to the speakers, I have a question. Is it possible that there is a system where everyone is treated equally? That's all, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Rina. So, I try to answer. So for me, the system that treat people equally is for me adalah democratic system. or maybe a monarchy. For the democratic system is, as we can see, I give an example like Indonesia, right? So, pelajar di sana, sorry ya, pelajar di sana, cara mereka untuk campaign government untuk mendengar orang punya macam suara, biasanya orang akan buat macam tu protes like macam dalam kabinet dalam berkumpul untuk government tu dengar orang punya suara, dan tidak pun fakulti atau universiti tu dengar orang punya suara. So after contoh lah itu dari dengar suara mereka, biasanya yang pihak itu akan ambil tindakan macam tu. So for me, apa yang tadi sesuai adalah demokrasi. Sama juga macam negara lain pun ada yang berasaskan demokratik untuk memastikan masyarakat itu semuanya adil dan orang semua ada hak untuk bersuara atas orang punya pendapat. Itulah saya. Ya, am I answer?
Hello Ayurina, thank you for your question, Yuru. So the answer from me for your question is I personally think that kita tak ada system that we treat every human being equally. Because even kita ada sistem untuk hak bersuara, untuk hak mendapatkan ini, mendapatkan itu, tetapi with the systems we have and we are socially constructed on kita rendahkan female and tinggikan male on certain things, and kita beranggap bahawa only male can do this and female cannot do that, and also kita beranggapan bahawa kaum ini ataupun pihak ini hak untuk mendapatkan keuntungan-keuntungan ini, and pihak ini tidak hak untuk mendapatkan keuntungan ini. Itu bukan macam hak lah, that's their mentality and their identity, and it's originally from the root. So even we have systems that kita separate people and kita treat people equally, we still socially constructed to not treat people equally. Macam gender issues and the status issues or the work class issues, races issues. Even though we have the systems that kita ada, semua pihak kita ada hak untuk berpendidikan, hak untuk bekerja, but still we are socially constructed on those things lah. So I personally think that system are not treating people equally. Thank you.
Ada lagi soalan? Ya.
This will be the last question from audience, and the speakers will give the audience questions to answer. Thank you.
Okay, good morning everyone. So my name is Simon Kyung, so you can call me Min. Okay, and then I want to say that we know that become a leader is something that very crucial in mana-mana era, in any of the era, in any of the decade, mana-mana. And then I want to ask all of the speakers whether if you as a leader, how you will manage all the animals if you become a leader in animal farm, how you will manage all the animals to contribute a lot in your country in terms of this new era of modernization era. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much for your question, Lily. And according to me, in this modern era, if I were the leader in the animals farm, I will treat the animals according to their ability. Because some animals, it depends on the animals lah, not humans. Humans are all literate, but animals, it depends on their akal of the animals lah. So if the animal cannot study or they cannot learn something, they have their own ability, they have their own kemahiran on their own. So I will treat them according to their kemahiran and will produce the profit according to them lah. So that's all from me.
I have a question. Okay, thank you. It was a good presentation. Saya ada satu soalan ini untuk setiap orang. Plus the moderator. You have read the book kan? Okay, bagi contoh apa yang berlaku dalam politik Malaysia pada hari ini yang ada mirip dengan apa yang berlaku di Animal Farm. Tiga orang jawab. Whoever is ready boleh jawab. Kita jawab ke semua.